Resource rent take, effective rate by sector. Use of balance sheet tools versus mass tax changes. All datasets should be machine-readable and published on a single portal, enabling civic oversight. 6. Risk management and safeguards. Inflation risk. The protocol requires that any tax relief to households is matched with non-household financing measures and a public statement from SARB Treasury on inflation implications. Credit discipline. Simple interest and lower caps are paired with tighter affordability verification and sectoral limits for microlenders. Predatory actors face criminal sanctions and license loss. Governance. Postbank and co-ops operate under prudential standards. All wholesale participation is through transparent rules. Annual audited statements and parliamentary hearings mandated. Corruption and leakage. Ring-fence NCR CBDA funding. Require procurement in Rand with fixed disclosure templates. Publish all concessions and toll financing models. 7. The legislative package. 1. Taxation Laws Amendment Bill. O. Abolition estate duty. Adjust CGT at death. O. Amend VAT schedule for expanded essential zero rating. O. Amend customs and excise to cut the general fuel levy and restructure RAF financing. O. Introduce resource rent formula with floors, windfalls, require sectoral effective rate reporting. 2. Money, Budget, and Reporting Amendment Bill. O. Insert hierarchy of financing, household impact annexure, and tax inflation alignment note requirements into the PFMA appropriation framework. O. Require joint SARB Treasury Coordination Protocol publication when the minister confirms the target. O. Strengthen Rand denomination instructions for public contracts where lawful. 3. National Credit Amendment Bills. O. Bill I. Simple interest only, repo plus single-digit cap, single-digit annual cap, ban interest on fees, credit life opt-out with declining balance rule. O. Bill 2. Debt review consent rule with criminal sanction, fast-track orders, automatic flag removal, EAO safeguards, NCR registry, ring-fenced enforcement funding, revolving door rules. 4. Postbank shareholder compact and CBDA appropriation. O. Defined people-first product set and simple interest windows. Publish quarterly volumes and pricing. O. Capitalize co-ops. Set wholesale deposit rules from state programs. 8. South African conclusion. These recommendations do not ask Parliament to chase theories. They convert South Africa's own legal architecture into protection for the people. Tax returns to its true purpose, managing inflation and shaping behavior, while ending compounded taxation on households and shifting the burden to rents and avoidance. Monetary sovereignty is exercised through transparent protocols and financing hierarchies using balance sheet tools before touching mass taxes. Credit is rebuilt on simple interest, fair caps, and public community channels that finance real life, homes, farms, education, enterprise, without turning citizens into a revenue stream. This is the path to stop taxing people to death, restore national balance, and place South Africa's money, tax, and credit back in service of South Africans. Conclusion. Restoration of sovereignty. Parliament's duty. A clear call to action. South Africa stands at a constitutional crossroads. The evidence presented in this document has shown, historically, legally, and operationally, how ordinary people are taxed at every turn of life, how money creation has, in practice, been outsourced to private credit, and how the National Credit Act has normalized high-cost lending that drains households. The outcome is a fiscal monetary order that too often protects creditor claims first and asks families to carry the burden again and again. This is not how a sovereign republic should function. Our Constitution vests Parliament with the authority to set the nation's course. Our institutions, the National Revenue Fund, the budget process, the South African Reserve Bank's mandate, were built to serve the public good. If, in practice, they have drifted into an order that extracts from the many to stabilize the few, then it is Parliament's task to correct that course. 1. What the evidence establishes. 1. Taxation as extraction, not partnership. From hut and poll taxes that coerced labor to today's layered system of PAE, VAT, fuel levies, municipal charges, and estate duties, households face double and triple taxation on the same income. Across the life cycle, earn, spend, move, live, die. In a country with high unemployment and weak real wage growth, this is a structural squeeze, not a neutral policy mix. 2. Sovereign currency in law, outsourced money in practice. The rand is a fiat currency issued under South African law, yet the operational reality is that broad money grows mainly through private bank credit, while fiscal policy is disciplined by bond markets and debt service costs. When pressure rises, the quick levers are household-facing taxes, VAT, fuel, and tariffs, rather than public balance sheet tools or rent capture from sectors earning above normal profits. 2. A credit regime that legalizes extraction. The National Credit Act consolidated rules and set caps, but it did not ban compounding on household credit before default. It permits high lawful pricing, and it required the courts, not the act, to finally clamp down on abusive wage attachments. Debt review, intended as a lifeline, has too often been misused, and enforcement capacity has not kept pace with the scale of harm. 4. Feasible, lawful solutions exist. None of our remedies require tearing up the constitutional order. They require using it properly, restoring the people-first purpose of tax, inflation management, and social shaping, setting a financing hierarchy that uses public balance sheet tools before household taxes, remandating our public bank channels, and replacing the NCA's price spine with simple interest and people-centered caps. 2. Parliament's duty. Parliament is the steward of South Africa's sovereignty. It alone votes appropriations. It sets the framework in which the Reserve Bank pursues price stability. It passes the credit and banking laws. That authority carries responsibility. To end compounded taxation on the people, abolish estate duty and the CGT deemed disposal at death on family homes and family enterprises up to a generous threshold. Expand the truly essential zero-rated VAT basket and reduce the fuel tax wedge that inflates every price in the economy. To shift the burden to rents and avoidance, not groceries and petrol. Legislate a profit-based rent capture formula with floors and windfall tiers. Scale up anti-avoidance and illicit flow enforcement. Publish sectoral effective tax rates. To codify a financing hierarchy. Use lawful balance sheet options and debt management tools before touching mass taxes. Require a household impact annexure for any proposed VAT, fuel, or broad levy change. To align mandate and budget transparently. Publish a joint protocol confirming how the inflation target and the medium-term budget path work together without defaulting to household extraction when shocks hit. To end predatory household credit. Replace compounding with simple interest. Impose people-first caps. Criminalize debt review without consent. Hardcode judicial oversight and proportionality for any wage attachment. Fund the NCR to bite. To rebuild public interest banking. Mandate Postbank as a low-cost retail spine with targeted simple interest windows. Capitalize cooperative community banks through the CBDA. Optionally add a narrow wholesale partner that co-lends through community banks rather than around them. 3. Why this is urgent. Every year we delay, debt service absorbs a larger share of public revenue, and households pay more for the same basket of life: food, transport, shelter, learning. Every year we allow compound interest on household credit, balances swell, and families surrender the future to yesterday's borrowing. Every budget cycle that treats VAT and fuel as the first resort erodes the social contract. Urgency, however, is not an excuse for disorder. The measures proposed here are sequenced, law-compatible, and administratively executable. Phase 1 delivers immediate household relief and credit protections. Phase 2 shifts the tax base toward resource rents and hardens anti-avoidance. Phase 3 audits outcomes against public metrics and adjusts course in full view of the nation. 4. Guardrails against risk. Inflation. Tax relief on essentials and fuel must be paired with rent capture and balance sheet moves, not unfunded consumption.
The fiscal, monetary protocol ensures that price stability remains credible even as we reduce extraction from households. Credit discipline. Simple interest lending is not permissive lending. It is honest lending. Caps and affordability checks tighten, not loosen. Predatory margins vanish, not prudence. Governance. Public and community banks operate under prudential standards with quarterly reporting to Parliament and black-letter conflict and cooling-off rules to close revolving door risks.
A people's balance sheet dashboard. Household tax share, debt service ratio, unsecured credit rates, enforcement statistics, public community credit share keeps the program accountable. 5. The moral center. At its core, this portfolio argues that money, tax, and credit are public institutions before they are private profit centers. A sovereign nation that taxes its people at every turn while outsourcing money creation and blessing compound interest on household debt is not neutral. It has chosen a side. Parliament can choose differently. This is not a call for chaos or fantasy. It is a call to return to first principles. Taxation as an instrument of balance and justice, money as a public trust, credit as a servant of productive life. We do not ask for indulgence from private power. We demand the reassertion of public sovereignty within the law, for the sake of families who are, today, taxed to death. 6. A clear call to action. We therefore pray that Parliament resolves to 1. End compounded taxation on households by abolishing estate duty and aligning CGT at death relief, expanding the zero-rated essentials basket and reducing the fuel tax wedge, with automatic municipal performance credits where services fail. 2. Shift the tax burden to rents and avoidance by enacting a profit-based resource rent formula with floors and windfalls, scaling anti-avoidance capacity, and publishing sectoral effective rates. 3. Codify a financing hierarchy and a household impact annexure so that lawful balance sheet tools and debt management choices are used before any mass tax increase. 4. Publish a fiscal monetary coordination protocol that aligns the inflation target with a people-centered budget path. 5. Replace compounding with simple interest on all household credit. Impose people-first caps, criminalize debt review without consent, hard-code judicial oversight of wage attachments, and fund the NCR to enforce. 6. Rebuild public interest banking by mandating Postbank's people-first role, capitalizing cooperative community banks via the CBDA, and, if adopted, establishing a narrow wholesale partner that co-lends through community institutions. These are measured, constitutional steps that place South Africa's money, tax, and credit back in service of South Africans. They will not satisfy those who profit from the present order. They are not intended to. They are intended to restore sovereignty, concretely, lawfully, and without delay.